Okay.
That was a good one.
Don't put that in the show.
Everything is worthwhile. It was a nice big
Man,
globular
you better
burp.
not.
It was a good one.
It's
I could see it. I could see it on the screen.
It's because I'm hungry.
It was huge. It was like the Blob.
it's a form, huh?
Remember that movie, The Blob?
Yes, I do.
They did a remake of it, and they called it The Blob.
Yeah.
How original could that be?
Imaginative, yeah.
Cheers.
Cherries.
So it's the beginning of 2020, a new year, and Becky and I thought it might be nice to kind of look back at what we've been doing with Bar Crawl Radio over the last 2 years. This is Bar Crawl Radio number 75, and we're looking forward to doing 100 of these gosh darn things. And so we're going to use this episode to look back on what we've done. Is that all right?
It's fine with me.
Can we do that?
Are you asking me?
All right. I mean, since we're not even at a bar.
You did ask me to already pick out some of the pieces that I like, so I obviously approve. Yeah, I think it's a great idea to look back, and I've enjoyed it. So we've received also a lot of supportive feedback from different people, and some of them, I guess, are regular listeners.
I know they are. They tell me they listen to our podcast, and give us some nice comments. We just got an email from Art Davis. He's a lyricist, musician, leader of the Evening Peace Band. He's also a health guru. He does kind of healthy stuff.
Cool.
And he really liked our last conversation at 5 Napkin on inanimate objects. And he just wrote me just recently. He says, quote, "Indeed, since everything is a form of energy, so too are so-called inanimate things." He was kind of supporting this idea that our dolls, our stuffed animals are kind of real to us.
Well, a lot of people, groups of people, societies have absolutely believed that inanimate objects had a spirit. And
that was Bar Crawl Radio number 74. So take a listen to that. And I captured Alexa and had her.
Yeah, that was the best part. I loved that.
Invited her into the program.
I loved that.
Yeah.
Okay. So the show has changed over the last 2 years, and now we alternate a more formalish interview, a conversation with invited guests, with our other week in which Alan and we just hang out at 5 Napkin and we have a drink and we talk about, whatever catches our imagination. But Alan always comes up with some little thing he's looked up and he brings that
for some reason you seem to think that's unfair that I
Not
can't do
at all.
that.
No, I think it's great.
It's interesting what you can find on the internet.
You misunderstand. I think it's great. I love it.
And I want to do a shout out again to 5 Napkin on West 84th Street. Julio, the manager there, has been really great to us.
And the bartenders, we had Josh last week. Was it Josh or John?
Julian, Josh.
Oh,
it was started
sugar.
with a J.
Oh, sugar.
James.
Oh, James. Thank you. I should remember that. That's my brother's name.
It was James, right?
Jeez Louise.
Yeah. And we have, what's her name?
Jaylene.
Jaylene.
Yeah.
I keep calling her Jolene.
Yeah. And the manager there, not just Julio, but the other manager.
Right. He always wears a nice shirt.
Good care of.
Okay.
Takes good care of us.
So, what are we looking at?
We're looking at a conversation that we had, a funny conversation where we shared with a bar patron, just talking about words and long words. Mm-hmm. And so we both kind of found some things to talk about and brought it to the table. And this is what it sounded like, I guess.
Yeah, the longest words. Here we are. This is from episode 6 of Bar Crawl Radio.
We were talking about words, remember?
Yep.
We were talking about strange words. Remember I told you I was looking up words for my students for their vocabulary, and I came across, here's the question. What is the hardest word to pronounce in the English language?
I know that word. It's anti-disestablishmentarianism.
No.
No.
Sorry.
No, what is it?
Sorry. I'm sorry. That word.
Oh, yeah.
You're not familiar with that word.
That's 2 words.
I found a longer word than the one you found.
All right.
You want to hear it?
Yeah.
Okay, here goes.
Yeah, I broke it up for you so it'd be easy to say.
Mono ultra microscopic silico volcanoconiosis.
Yeah. No.
Oh, you're going to try to? Okay, go ahead.
No neomo
Everybody, let's
mono
stand, make
ultra
a line here.
microscopic silicovolcanoconiosis.
Very good.
We have
Very
no
good.
idea what it means.
No, it's a disease.
Okay,
Some kind
good.
of eye disease or something.
And it stays for a long time. Okay, I found.
You have it?
I found a word that is the longest word in the English in the English language.
Really?
It's over 189,000 letters long.
Letters.
189,819 letters long, and it takes 3.5 hours to say. And I found a guy actually saying it. Here he is.
Глутамил, глицил, аланил, фенилаланил, валил, пролил, фенилаланил, валил,
You hear
трианил,
that?
лицил, глицил,
All right.
аспартил,
This is
пролил,
on
глицил,
YouTube,
глицил,
and I watched it for about 3 or 4 minutes of him doing this.
And it's 3.5 hours?
Аспартил, трианил,
And then, of course, I fast forwarded, and there's a flower next to him, and this flower gradually dies as he goes through this word. And he's going,
I think this is a Buddhist, meditation
Right.
method.
but it's a 3.5 hour YouTube video
I think
in which this guy is not you needed.
Can you imagine? You could go. It'll put you right to sleep.
Yeah.
I kind of like it.
Well,
I think he mispronounced. I heard something right there.
right
He
there. Let me- I'll play it. I'll play it
back.
again.
Yeah.
There it is.
That's it. No, that's not right.
Yeah, he
got that
mispronounced
wrong.
it.
He got
Okay.
it wrong. That's so
3.5
funny.
hours, and he
It's a
kind
waste of time.
he fucked it up. And talking about fucked it up,
Oh yes, that
that was something
right?
else we talked about
I
with
know,
Adam,
right?
right?
Yeah.
About how words have there's different forms of the word fuck.
Yep. And different, like the Klingons had a word for it, and
Yeah,
You know,
so I came up with variations
because you
of
can't
words.
say it on TV, so they used to make up words for it.
Right.
Yeah.
So you say, oh frickin',
Freck, yeah,
oh frack that, or frell that,
or friggin', or
Yeah.
flippin'.
flippin'. So
but-
all these weird words. So that's what we were talking about with Adam. Was
Uh-huh.
these kind of weird things that happen. Now we mispronounce words. Did
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
that it's not daylight savings time? It's daylight saving time.
I've always said it wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not electoral. It's electoral.
But why?
I don't know.
Electoral.
Right. And everyone knows this
Electoral.
one. It's not nuclear.
Oh well, yeah. Thank you, President Bush.
Nuclear.
We all learned that.
Nu-
yeah.
nuclear.
Nuclear.
Nuclear. Okay. So.
Okay, wait. This is what I want to know, honey.
Here he's still going.
глицил, залицил, сирил, аланил.
Let him go. It's
Yeah, he's just going to keep going
Yeah,
for
let him
3.5
go.
hours.
Okay, I know what posh means.
All right, go ahead. Go for it.
The acronyms. Port out, starboard home. It's very posh. You have to go port out and starboard home. What does that mean, though? Does that mean if you're not, that means you're in the wrong marina?
Well,
you're
posh-
like in the poor marina, I guess.
The people that were the wealthy ones, they were able to look at the port going out.
I know, I understand that.
Right.
But how could somebody, doesn't everybody go out the same way? And so if you don't go out that way, then that's
It depends on which side of the
you're
ship
just
you're
not
on.
posh. Like,
It's the side of the ship you're on. I heard that's not even true, though. I thought that was made up later.
I don't get it.
Okay. All right.
I guess I don't go on.
Transition.
Here we go. I'm going to put on my sexy
So we just
voice.
talked about fuck and frickin' and frell
Yes,
and posh
we
and all.
did.
Okay. Go.
We will be right back with a special interview with a most interesting clown named Popo as we continue our segment on unsolved clown murders. We'll be right back.
So there you go. That
I'm sleeping right now. I just fell asleep listening to that again.
no, I thought it was fun.
No, when that guy was reading the longest word, are you kidding? That's just perfect for putting you to sleep.
Yeah, that I've been listening to thunder lately, thunder
Yeah,
and lightning to
yeah,
put
yeah.
to sleep. Maybe I'll just put on that word.
I'm telling you that I pay a service to have these songs on my phone. I mean, not songs, rather, these sounds on my phone.
Yeah.
I'm just going to add him and
right.
get it for free.
On that same show, we had an interview. This is episode 6 with Brad Garoon, who is an expert in burgers in the city. That's one of the things he does. And with Mike Tenzio, who is
Alan.
a producer.
Alan, you didn't listen closely to the one we just did.
What?
It's Tenzillo.
Tenzillo.
Yeah.
What did I say?
Tenzio.
Tenzillo.
Like Spanish, I
did the
guess.
Spanish one.
Yeah, it's
right.
Italian.
Well, Mike Tenzillo is a technical director, senior lighting technical director at Blue Sky Studios. And they're also producers of Too Old to Date. And we invited them on this early episode to talk about dating because I said we don't date anymore, but they really disagreed
right?
with me.
They
So
did. They took my side.
Here's Brad Garoon and Mike Tenzillo.
Mike and Brad, welcome to Barcrow Radio.
Welcome.
So explain that. She's really hung up
I'm
on
bummed.
So
This is Mike.
This is Mike Tanzillo with the L's. So the show started about a year ago. This was after I had gotten married rather young, and I was about in my early 30s when I got divorced. So at that time, I'd been dating in the 90s and just got back in the online game in the modern age, and I found myself feeling very out of place and very unaware of what I was doing. And luckily for me, I had my best friend Brad with me, and he kind of shepherded me along the way a little bit.
Did he guide you?
He did, because I just kept saying that I feel too old for this. Like, it feels... I skipped all that middle part between talking, like calling a girl's house and having to talk to like her dad on the phone.
No.
To just like
You'd not-
swiping.
you didn't.
Yeah, no. I mean, I met my ex when I was 19, and so, you know, I went from that to Tinder, and that's an abrupt change.
And
so,
I want to talk
I
about
guess.
Tinder because that's a wonderful, magical place that I don't know what it is.
and that is the tip of the iceberg too.
Yeah,
It goes deeper than that.
We actually do catch a lot of heat about the title of the show.
Yeah.
It's something we came up with, like, very on the spot. We needed to buy a domain name and put something into iTunes.
We bought
Yeah.
Barcrow Radio.
Yeah.
Perfect.
But a married couple like us, we're not dating.
Your face. But when we decided it was too expensive to do the web show, I suggested we do it as a podcast. Mike thought I meant...
I thought he meant like a call-in dating advice podcast.
Right. But neither
And
of
you
us...
weren't interested in that.
No, because those exist.
Right, and it would have been a disaster
Yeah.
because we're not good at dating. We're certainly not experts at dating. The whole show
Well, but-
is about how we're tragic.
Right, so your advice could be, well, look, I don't know what to do, but I can tell you what not to do.
Sure, except in my personal life, I'm only telling people what to do, and then I'm just ruining their lives. So we just wanted to, we thought, okay, sad coms as they are, sad comedies are really big right now, and we'll write a show about that. And
Okay.
there are no scripted comedy podcasts about regular life. So
That's why I
where we're
didn't
at.
fully get Brad's idea when
like
he first
it.
said it. It was just it's something that doesn't exist, and so we kind of.
And over the episodes that you've done, I've been kind of listening to them, and I'm about halfway through. There is a change in the style, just like the change in Barcrow Radio. We changed our style here. So you have brought in more professional actors.
Yeah, I mean,
I could hear it. I could hear the change.
Well, one of the biggest things that we said going into this is kind of an undiscovered genre of podcasting, and so we were going to be very open to trying new things, experimenting with things. I know in the first season we had an episode that we thought was going to kill. We were like, we wrote it, and we were so excited about it, and then we did it, and it was the worst reviewed
Dead,
show we've
dead,
ever
Oh,
done.
really?
People hated it.
Oh,
We were
wow.
Yeah, and so we've learned from that, and we're working on the 4th season now, and we really think we're getting good. We're getting
Yeah,
better at
we're
this.
sort
Well,
of...
it's a learning curve.
Can I tell you one thing
Absolutely.
that I really liked about it, at least the first season, because that's really as far as I've gotten, is the narrator. Do you keep the narrator?
We kept her for a while. Like Mike said, we're working on the 4th season now. We just lost her because she decided to... I don't want to throw her under the bus, but I feel fine doing that, actually. now that I think
Okay.
about it.
Well, you don't have to name names.
No, of course not.
No, but this is on our show. Go ahead,
We,
do it.
we don't even honestly, we don't
Yeah.
even credit her with her real name because she's very protective of her privacy. But
Very interesting voice, though.
So she has a really interesting background. She was born in Sri Lanka. She grew up in London, spent a lot
Wow.
of time growing up in the Canary Islands, and then was in Connecticut, and then here. So in that same vein, now she spends, I'm not joking, weekends in Africa visiting friends, and the week here.
Weekends in Africa.
And so she doesn't have time to.
It takes a weekend to go to Africa.
I want to
Exactly.
cry.
Yeah.
I want to go to Africa so badly.
She's doing 3-day weekends in Africa. So we lost her. We have a new narrator. We think she's great. We'll see what other people feel about it. But we came up with a pretty good in-story reason for the narrator to change.
Right. Well, let me tell you what I liked about the narrator. It was kind of like the restaurant on the other side of the universe thing that you did, in which you have these two people that are talking and they're relating, and then the narrator comes on and says, a fly flew over the beer and landed inside, but they didn't notice. This changed everything 40 years later.
Exactly. First off, I love
I love that
Perfect.
kind of stuff.
Did you write that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
we-
one of us did.
Yeah, it gets lost as
Who
to who
knows?
did what, but
Do
yeah.
you still do that?
Yeah, in
Yeah.
fact, we started doing it more.
Nice.
I'm going to give a little
Do
spoiler.
yeah,
Yeah,
do
go for
that.
it, please.
Mike, we show Mike on a date once in this season, and then he explains part of the date to me, and it's different. And so today we were like, oh, I don't know if it tracks. Are people going to understand? No, the narrator's going to come on and disagree with Mike. Mike doesn't know the narrator is disagreeing with him, but she comes on. Mike is an unreliable narrator.
One of our inspirations for the narrator was, I don't know if you've ever seen the Will Ferrell movie
Stranger Than Fiction.
Stranger Than Fiction, but it's the Emma Thompson voiceover kind of narrating his life as he's doing it. And
This kind of meta narration.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
you're commenting
I
on
like
what's going
that.
on.
and we definitely think of the narrator as a character in the show, as a character in the universe,
Right.
as somebody who's got a voice and a personality and a little bit of sass. Every
And now
once
a
in while.
boyfriend.
And now a boyfriend.
I know what you should do. I have an idea.
Oh, the narrator has a boyfriend.
That's why she's no longer our
Yeah,
narrator.
because she's
No, but that should be part of this.
Well, it's
Yeah.
funny because she has a twin brother in real life, and we thought about bringing him on instead because his voice is very similar, but he
Yeah.
also is.
But that'd be great for the narrator to have his own side story. And,
I have an idea, though.
yeah, shoot.
The mother as the narrator, the brother as the narrator,
No, right now.
the ex-girlfriend as the narrator.
Yeah, we get a little bit of Rashomon going on.
In episode number 14, I came across a very interesting tidbit in the news, which I couldn't believe. Since then, it's kind of come out as something that is really going to happen. But before I reveal it,
Right. I've heard about that.
I
I've
know,
heard about
it's
that.
like
And how other
it's-
countries are upset, and
yeah,
I'm
but
not,
let's not
I
reveal
don't
it.
quite get it.
I don't get it either. But
No, I won't reveal it.
this is a very interesting decision made by our great leader.
Well, Becky, I wanted to share with you something. Something happened today, and we usually don't talk about the great leader. I mean, we try to have
Oh,
a
God.
Trump-free program.
Why?
But
Why?
something happened. I want to play this for you.
Oh no, please.
So here's a statement that he made yesterday.
Brought me down.
And I thought it was something, when I first heard it, I thought it was something out of Mad Magazine. Here it is.
Very importantly, I'm hereby directing the Department of Defense and Pentagon to immediately begin the process necessary to establish a Space Force as the sixth branch of the armed forces. That's a big statement. We are going to have the Air Force and we are going to have the Space
Is
Force.
it the aliens, right?
Separate but equal.
Oh my gosh.
There you go.
Oh.
We're going to have the new Trump Space Force.
His royal clownness.
And,
Wow.
and I think I want to I want to be a space cadet. I was thinking, it's because it's weightless out there,
Let's
so I
send
don't
an
have to lift
application.
anything
Let's send in our application.
to be a space cadet.
We'll have to get in shape, but I think we should send in our application, and we can.
Yeah,
Oh
I
my
couldn't believe it.
gosh.
I mean, I heard it this morning. I went, what is that? Is that a joke?
Does anybody?
Especially when he says it.
Doesn't anyone
Separate
talk
but
to him?
equal.
Doesn't he have people? Doesn't he have handlers that talk to him and say, President Trump? I'm not sure if that's such a.
Yeah, well.
Maybe it's just not the time.
I think it's enough on
It's
Trump.
too early. You're way ahead. Yeah. Okay, that's enough.
Enough on Trump. It's like it's just.
This one coming up next is something that I brought to the table, I think, because I've been teaching my children collective nouns, my students rather, collective nouns, and I just found this this piece that I thought was this publication that I thought was very funny, and so I shared it with you.
About the collective
nouns, yeah.
of animals.
Of animals,
And then
yes, of animals.
And then we riffed on it and took it a little
Exactly.
further. And then again, this is also in episode number 14.
About margaritas and drinks. What are you drinking there, sweetie?
I'm drinking Tito's and vodka in a tall glass with extra lime.
Sounds good. And we learned that Tito's is from Texas,
Oh, see, I didn't even know that.
and it's gluten free.
Oh, that's nice.
It's so healthy.
But isn't all alcohol gluten? No, I guess not. Not
Maybe
if
not.
it's made with the. Yeah.
I'm drinking Bell's Double Two Hearted beer,
Uh-huh.
and it's just I had like 3 sips, and I'm feeling a little.
Oh gosh, 11%.
It has 2.5 times the regular hops, so it's really, really bitter if you like that kind of bitter beer. And it's pumped up to 11% alcohol.
And it's from.
And it's from, and I won't be able to do this real quickly, so here we go.
So we
and
should
it's
keep
from. Yep.
It's from Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Agree, my hometown gal's the only one for me.
Here we go. Everyone up and dance.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. I got a gal in Kalamazoo.
I've always loved that song.
Don't wanna
Okay. If you want to,
All right, so
listen
listen.
to more of that, you can. So that's what I'm drinking. Bell's Double Two Hearted, and whoa, I'm taking it slow because we have an hour
God.
here.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
No more that near beer for you. Okay, so I have something for you, honey.
All right, I'm ready
I don't
for
know if
anything.
you're aware of this, but when you're talking about groups of animals, there's certain, words, certain adjectives that you use. Like a flock of birds, right? Right.
Yep.
But all animals have different adjectives, right? I don't know
That
if you've ever heard
describe
of-
them in groups.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So
See, I am prepared.
It actually dates back to the 15th century. It was first published in a book called St. Albans, which was a 3-part book on hawking, hunting, and heraldry. How alliterative those 15th century people were. And so so here's some of the examples.
These are called collective names.
Collective names, yeah.
Right.
Like collective, collections of animals.
Right.
Right? And it was, this list was recopied, but there's not any evidence that it was ever really used. It may have been humor, 15th century humor, but in any case, for example, do you know what a group of ravens is called?
Raging ravens.
An unkindness. So unkindness of ravens, you
Right.
would say. And a murder.
Which is describing ravens.
Well, some of them are descriptive. Some of them you kind of go, okay, I don't get that. But a murder of crows.
Right. That's a good one.
A turmoil of porpoises.
Yeah, that sounds right.
A cloud of grasshoppers. That sounds scary.
All right.
I like this one. A busyness of ferrets.
Right.
And here's an obvious one. An obstinacy of buffaloes. I mean, look at those buffaloes. They, obviously, they're obstinate.
Obstinate, yeah.
But I don't think do you think they had buffaloes in 15th century Europe? Well, anyway, a kaleidoscope of butterflies.
Beautiful.
Or you could say a flutter of butterflies.
Yeah.
Or a rainbow.
A rainbow
of
of butterflies. It's a group of
But
butterflies.
the reason that I'm bringing this to you today to talk about it is because I was really excited. This is the most descriptive collective that I have come across. And that is, if you think about our government, a Congress of baboons.
Right. Congress of Baboons.
Yes.
Which makes a lot of sense. And so I came up with my own.
I
'cause
know
knew
you
you could
did.
do this.
I know you
so
did.
So I came up with a tirade of Trumps.
Exactly.
And to describe the Bushes, a blather of Bushes. Clap of Clintons.
Oh, you're being very alliterative too. A clap of Clintons.
All right.
That's not nice.
All right, an obstruction of
What do you mean by that?
Connells.
An obstruction of
Right.
McConnell's, yeah.
And maybe this is the best one. A mulling of Muellers.
I don't know.
Because he's kind of mulling around.
Oh, mulling around. Okay.
Right. And a critique of wives. So there's,
Oh, okay.
I think
well,
I'll stop there.
Okay, no, you're going to go into husbands and wives and men and women? Okay, how
Right.
about a non-committal of men?
Which brings us to the next topic, which is something we want to continue to talk about on Barcrow Radio because Rebecca and I have been married for a long time. We have a successful marriage. Some people have come up to us and said, how do you do it? How have you stayed together?
You don't want to say how
Especially
many years?
with that man.
You don't want to say it? You're
It's
concerned
I
about...
don't want to say it because I don't remember.
Oh, well, it's not hard to remember, honey, because we were
It's something
born.
like-
and we were born. We
something
were born
like-
together. We were married.
15 years,
No, we were
20.
married.
25,
In 1980.
80
So
years.
that's easy. 80.
80.
It
Okay.
makes- Okay, so this is 2018.
All right, 38.
We're coming up on
freaking
38.
years?
And on the 22nd.
moly.
What's the date today? Today's the 19th. Oh, gosh, a few days.
So we have kind of the corner on, and here's the title of this section.
Yeah.
How to have a perfectly adequate marriage.
Exactly. So we're going to give advice on how to
Advice.
have a perfectly adequate marriage.
But we couldn't think of any, so we went to the Reader's Digest. And the Reader's Digest had this article called 28 Marriage Tips from Grandma You'd Be a Fool Not to Follow. And everyone knows the Reader's Digest, unlike the president, tells the truth. Also in that episode, number 14, we had a very interesting conversation, probably one of the most interesting conversations we had.
I agree.
With Gabrielle Salfati and Marina Soroczynski, who are both professors at John Jay College. Now, Marina has moved on to someplace else, but at the time she was a professor in criminal justice studies at John Jay College, and they're both experts in serial killers. They're the sweetest,
Yes.
beautiful young ladies, and they're experts in serial killing.
Yes, right. And I just was kind of embarrassed listening back on it because I would come up with my questions based on what I'd heard on, podcasts or TV, and they'd be so polite and they'd say, "Well, no, that's
not quite right.
Quite, yeah,
Yes, it's a lot bloodier than
that's
that.
very interesting, but
Right. And here they're having a conversation about how rape and murder is investigated differently in different areas of the world and why.
Do criminal offenders change from one country to another?
That was actually a key question that a colleague of mine.
Well, I saw it in a paper that you had written. Yeah.
He asked me. We went to a seminar actually that the FBI had organized back in 2005, and they were gathering experts from all over the world who had been involved in some aspect of investigations to do with serial homicide. They could have been investigators, judges, reporters, writers, scientists, psychologists, and they got us all together in a room and they started asking us questions saying, we're many years on from the original work that we did in the FBI. And we know that there were issues at the time, and we need, like any science, we need to develop it. Where are we at now? And so as we were talking about this, and this is out there for people to look at, but a colleague of mine actually who was working at the time, who's an investigative psychologist, you asked me earlier, do we still stay in touch? Yes, of course. Mm-hmm. And he was an investigative psychologist. He's actually a psychologist who was doing investigative psychology in South Africa, and he was an investigator as well. And he said, well, this is all very nice. We're talking about the US, we're talking about the Western world, and we have people coming over and training us to do our jobs. But I can tell you that things are very different in South Africa. And so I said to him, okay, well, if that's what you think, I think that's, I don't know anything about South Africa. Let us come over and let's look at it. And he said, absolutely. And we actually did something that was quite unprecedented. And at the time, actually, Marina was part of this. She was a student at the time, and she came with me to South Africa. I actually left her to do the work.
Best field trip.
What did you do while she was doing the work?
I went
safari.
I went on a safari.
Good for you.
But I came back eventually once they'd done the work to actually then, just put the cherry on top. Yeah, take the credit. No, they were collecting the data. So there's a group. They were collecting the data, and what they did was actually, they gave us access to every single serial homicide case that had ever been investigated in South Africa, which is unknown.
Oh, my goodness.
We always work with samples, small groups. And based on that, we did a bunch of papers, and Marina and I wrote a lot of these together. And that's where a lot of our ideas started to really come to fruition and develop. And we saw these patterns of inconsistencies and some consistencies happen. And the interesting thing was, so yes, it was completely different in South Africa from what it was in the States. But
How
what was
so?
really interesting, so we're talking about, again, the individual behaviors that offenders were engaging in. But what was really interesting was that when we actually started to look at it, it was the same. And I can give you some examples if you want.
Oh, sure, yes.
So one of the things that, and actually that's one of the big projects that we have sort of put together now, we work on sex workers who've been killed. So that's one of our key interests because it's a very highly vulnerable group that nobody really looks into. And
so someone preys, there are people that prey on sex workers?
Yes, and so that's really our focus at the moment. So we're looking at that, and I've done some original work, and when you look at someone who's a sex worker who gets killed, normally she operates in a secluded area. Someone will come up to her in a car, ask her to come into the car, drive her away, seclude her, kill her, dump her body.
And they're avoiding, the sex workers are avoiding police anyway. So
exactly. So they're normally working in, areas of town where they will not be looked at. And
there's somebody who will go willingly to a secluded area with a stranger.
Exactly. And then there will be some kind of exchange of money. So that would be the individual behaviors that would happen in these crimes. Now, when we look in South Africa, we're trying to look at the same thing to see, is there this same pattern? And what we found was, no, sex workers weren't being targeted.
Almost
and we
none.
thought almost none, which we thought was very, very interesting. But when we then started looking at what the offender was doing and the pattern, it was almost exactly the same. But instead what they were doing is that they were targeting women who were looking for work, and they were offering them work, like basket weaving, for example. Now, instead of getting into a car, because people are very poor and they don't have their own cars, they were asking these women to go on public transport with them, and they would ride across, for miles. Then they would get to a small village, and they would say, I'm just going to go to this other village with you, and I'm going to give you a job. We're going to have to cross this field. And so she would go with him, i.e. to a secluded area, for an exchange of money, where he would rape and murder her and dump her body. So the victims were different. The area was different.
The approach.
But everything that he did, the
Was
underlying
similar.
pattern was very similar. And that was what's really interesting. So so that kind of fueled a lot of our research in terms of we both have, we both lived all over the world, and so we have an international interest. But also, we then started focusing a lot more on sex workers because they are such a highly vulnerable group. Did you know that the second most likely cause of death for a sex worker is murder?
Second most likely.
First is drugs. Yeah.
Okay, so this next one is episode 16, and it goes into 19. I think it's pretty apparent when you listen to the podcast exactly what happened. I didn't understand what Nathan Lentz was saying because he was talking too fast.
Who's Nathan Lentz?
Oh, well, Nathan Lentz is a doctor. He works at the John Jay College.
He's in the science department.
In the science department. He's a science guy. And he does a podcast. He's written a book about junk DNA.
His podcast is The World of Humans.
Right. So
Excellent podcast.
I was listening to his podcast before our interview with him.
Right. In which he interviews experts in different fields of science.
Exactly.
Right.
And one of those podcasts in particular was on DNA and junk DNA specifically. Mm-hmm. And he and the person he was interviewing were talking too fast, which I say you'll hear in just a minute. And so I did something kind of funny. So
yeah, you played around with Nathan Lentz's sound.
I did.
And then we got a little payback to ourselves.
We did. Turnabout is fair play, we figured.
All right. So this is from episode 16 and then episode 19.
But I have to tell you a secret.
Mm-hmm.
So your book was really very approachable. Good job. So I listened to a lot of your podcasts, and they're pretty much, I can follow them, okay? But there was one on the DNA.
Mm-hmm.
I forget the name of the doctor you interviewed.
Dan Grauer. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But so what happened is that you guys were talking too fast for me. It was just really too fast. So you know what I did? You know how you can change the speed? And I kind of did it accidentally.
To halftime?
I did.
Oh, that's funny.
And it was very funny. You should listen to yourself half speed because you all sounded totally drunk.
When I sounded drunk, yeah, that's
Yes.
what I'm imagining.
But
When I
you're
edit this,
really
I'm going to put it
smart,
in.
It's really funny.
Oh, that's great. I'm going to have to go home and try that.
You have to listen to
You
it.
ever-
I always wondered how I sound drunk.
You have
I
your
guess.
drunk history?
Yeah. No, I have watched Drunk History.
It sounds
yeah.
like
Well,
drunk history.
Oh,
But
that's
you're
great.
actually much more intelligent than the people on drunk history. But even and especially when someone's laughing, it's like, it's just, I can't even,
Right.
Hello and welcome to This World of Humans. I'm your host, Nathan Lentz. Your producer is Sam Anderson. And today we're going to talk about our genomes. Sam, I'm sure you know what a genome is.
Yeah, it's something to do with our DNA.
That's right. It's the full complement of DNA inside
I'll have
each
to, I'll
one
have
of
to
our
suggest that to my
cells.
listeners
But-
if they're having a hard time following
it'll
to
be,
try it and
it'll
have
be
slow it down.
entertaining and it will work because when you slowed down, I grasped it.
Well, you're not the first person to say that I speak too fast. Even after 20 years of teaching, I sometimes am told that.
Okay, that's Earl's World by Charles Tolliver. And we are Bar Crow Radio, coming to you from island to island. Yep.
Hi,
Yeah,
I'm
hi.
Becky.
Hi.
Rebecca.
And I'm Alan. And I gotta lower the sound here a little bit. We're coming out a little hot. We don't have anyone.
Well, it's a hot night, honey.
Yeah. if someone's listening, they want to call me, and you know my number, let me know.
And if your name is Barbara Wenson?
Well, no, I don't know if Barbara's listening. But I think Sam, my bowling buddy, is listening. So, Sam, of course, Sam doesn't have my number. Yeah, he doesn't have my number. I'm not going to give my number out.
Not much he can do. You can give your number out.
No, I'm not going to give my number out.
There might be somebody listening. One person, who can call you and let you know.
And just give my number out?
Yeah.
But I mean, this is going out like to the universe. I'm getting calls from Martians.
Okay.
I should really do, or you give your number out.
In episode 29, I featured my experience of being with and spending time with the Witness Against Torture people in Washington, D.C. for 1 week in January, in which they protested throughout the city the incarceration of the prisoners in Guantanamo.
The continued incarceration. Right?
Without a trial. And they protested all over the city. I put together 4 episodes in which I covered what was going on, and then what was going on that week. And then on Friday night, or was it Saturday night, Becky came down to Washington, D.C. We went to the Iron Horse Tap Room bar, and we had a Bar Crawl Radio conversation. 4 of the members of Witness Against Torture came to that conversation: Josie Seltzer, Chris Brandt, Michael Fiala, and Paulette Schrader. And in this, you're going to hear them talking about the death of Yemeni children by U.S. bombs. This is not a happy one. Sometimes with Bar Crawl Radio, we do go to the darker side.
We get serious.
Yeah, we get serious.
Yeah.
So here's from episode 29.
One of your actions that Witness Against Torture has is to get arrested for violating some ununderstandable laws. And I wondered if you could talk about some, maybe one of the most significant actions, maybe the one before the Supreme Court.
Were you there, Mike?
I was.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So we were highlighting and raising up the people of Yemen, as well as the 9 men who died at Guantanamo Bay Prison. So think about 9 men who never got to be with their families and dying at Guantanamo. So we had a die-in in front of the Supreme Court of those 9 men, as well as I think 34 backpacks, blue backpacks representing the children who were bombed with a Lockheed 500-pound bomb this past, I believe, was it August?
That's right.
So Voices for Creative Nonviolence, Kathy Kelly and Brian Terrell were with us for this whole week. They had started earlier for a week-long fast in New York City, and so they came down to join us. And so in front of the Supreme Court, we highlighted those 2 connections that in the Middle East, not only have we taken men and put them in Guantanamo Bay Prison and tortured them, and 9 of them died, but also we support war crimes and war atrocities in Yemen by continuing to fund that war by selling them the bombs that are killing their people.
I've been embedded with you. I know Paula wants to say something.
Well, just with
Go ahead.
especially with Saudi Arabia, who is one of our allies, and with the UAE, who are, I think, most directly associated with dropping the bomb.
Yeah, and it's all too much to take. I wondered, one of the things that I got from being with you this week was some little tidbits of information that humanizes this whole thing. And one of the things that I heard was that in the backpacks of these children, and we're talking about 10, 11, 12-year-old children, and these children were blown to bits. I mean, literal body bits. But in the backpacks that they were carrying in there, I heard that there were medical supplies there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess some
First
food
aid.
and first aid that was in their backpacks. I forgot who made this testimony. Maybe it was one of the panels we were
Maybe
at.
Kathy did.
I think they got
Kathy
it from
Kelly.
UNICEF. These were
The day before.
Right,
Imagine
and
that
the
from
image
UNICEF.
is of these children rejoicing that they have first aid. I can imagine I'm a child. I got a backpack. I've got this first aid in my backpack. I'm gonna go home to my family. Look what I got, Mom and Dad. Look what I got.
Kathy said they were excited. Yeah.
Look what I got. And then out of the sky, a Uzian bomb falls.
And there was a photograph of a little boy, 8-year-old boy, who had survived that attack, and that his eyes had seen into the blackness of horror. It was a very moving photograph.
Do you know where we can see that?
I don't know what I saw it online somewhere. I think.
Yeah, we should look at those pictures.
Yeah,
and not become inured to them.
And next up is episode 31.
Yeah.
So
and this one is not serious.
This one is not serious.
Right.
We were talking to each other about how TV saved our marriage.
Right.
And
that was what it was about.
Yeah,
Most of it,
ostensibly.
right?
Ostensibly.
About TV.
Right.
Through
But
our lives.
This next part, or the part that you're going to hear, that was part of that episode, is something that Alan just loves to talk about.
We wanted to talk a bit about television.
Yes.
And there was a lot of television I watched today. I had a lot of work to do today. And about 10 o'clock, I sat down and started watching the Cohen hearing.
Right.
And
you
it was
couldn't break yourself
it was 12
away.
o'clock. It was like when Cohen said, it's like he said, listen, Chairman, I got to go piss.
Did he really?
Well, he didn't use those words, but he said, could we please have an adjournment, please?
Okay.
I can't think anymore. And Cummings said, oh, yeah, me too. So we're going to adjourn now for about 15 minutes. That's about how long it'll take me.
Okay.
Squeeze it out.
Boy, you guys, you love... He did not say that. I know he didn't say that.
I knew what they were thinking.
But did he say that's how
Everyone
long...
knew what they were
Did
thinking.
he say that's how long it'll take me?
No.
Okay.
No,
Good.
if I was this is a hearing in Congress,
You would have.
I'd say no. That's
You
not
would've.
exactly what he said, but that's what he meant.
I know. Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
a good piss is about 15 minutes. It's the walk
I'm just.
there.
Is anybody
it's
counting? You know, if
getting
you listen to, if you
napkins and
do a kind of a bar crawl radio
Zip down.
marathon, which I don't know why you'd
Gotta
want to do,
wait there,
but you
'cause
could
as you
have
get older, it's
you could
harder.
take a little sip of alcohol
Yeah.
every time Alan talks about
And it
pissing.
starts flowing, and then you got to wait a little bit because it kind of stops. And I think that's one of the themes. I think if we've been saying, what is the theme of
What
Bar
is
Pro
Bar
Radio?
Pro Radio about?
I think it's urination.
No, it's urination.
No, it's urination.
No.
I'm
Not-
just a city.
Not me. I never use the restroom.
Urination,
I never
I'm
need-
a city.
I never need to do that.
I've noticed that. You never use the bathroom.
You know who doesn't use the bathroom is our son. It's so funny growing up. He never.
You never was in the bathroom.
We would go on trips and we'd pull into the.
Yeah, and it'd be long, like hours.
What do they call it? The area, the rest areas,
Yeah.
the service areas, and
And
all
we'd
of
be
us
running.
would be all of us would have to go, and Harry would just stay in the car.
Gotta go.
So don't
And
you
you'd
have
be
to
like,
go? No.
No. All right, and then 5 hours later, we're stopping and you gotta go now because I gotta go. Can I go first? I don't care. I
It's
don't
okay.
Go.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Yeah. I think he absorbs it or something.
I don't know.
He sweats it out.
It's not like you're a camel where you're not holding that water there.
All right, so we're supposed to talk today about TV.
So for episode 34, we covered the World Poetry Movement event for a World Without Walls held at the St. Illuminators Armenian Apostolic, how do you say that word? Apostolic
Apostolic
Cathedral
Apostolic,
over
yeah.
on the east side. And this was on February in 2019. And they had a series of poetry readings. And we recorded the whole thing. But then some of them we really liked, the poets, and we invited the poets onto Bar Crawl Radio. And we were taken with one in particular. And this is Lisa Witten's rendition of Imagine.
Yeah, my favorite.
It's really cute.
Absolutely.
So, Lisa, we really enjoyed the reading that you did while we were listening of the Imagine.
Thank you.
That was brilliant. So what brought you to poetry?
So for me, I don't consider myself a poet, but I love writing. And when I feel like anytime that I feel emotionally not in a good place, or I feel like our world is in a good place, then I turn to poetry. But that's not my typical go-to. And I would say the last few years it's been my go-to quite a bit, just because of the nature of our society right now.
So what do you get from it? You mean it's your go-to to write it or to read it?
To write it and to read it.
And to read it.
Yes.
So what do you get from it?
For me, when I write it, it's like an emotional release. It's like I get all of, or at least some of the pain that I'm feeling inside, and some of the tension and stress about what could possibly happen or what is happening in the world. And when I read it, it makes me realize that this isn't something that's just happened right now, and that societies throughout time have suffered many kinds of pain, and that the pain that we're having right now isn't the same as what other societies and cultures have experienced, but that they have persevered. So I guess in that way it helps me to see that.
I think we should hear the poem that she read at the
okay. All right.
World Without Walls, because this is a pretty wild thing that you did. And again, you were cast because of this.
Oh, I see. Okay, I get it now. What you wanted me to say was,
Yeah.
and we thought we'd like to hear, we want to share with our listening audience.
There you go.
The poem, Imagine.
Perfect.
The second one, I'm sure you're very familiar with. I always go back to this song. It's from my childhood, but it brings me peace when I'm feeling very down. And lately, the last 2 years, that's been quite a bit. Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us and above us, only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for. Imagine all the people living in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger, a brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us and the world will live as one.
And then in episode 59, we did a ripoff of a couple of really cool girls that we met at the MapCon, Allison Burns and Lulu Picard.
This is the...
I was going to say...
You can say MapCon.
I said MapCon, yeah.
Yeah, but what is MapCon?
Oh, what is MapCon? It's Mid-Atlantic Podcast
Conference,
right. But they've changed. He's changed the names.
Now to another name, but I don't remember what it is.
What? Anyway,
Indie Podcast Conference.
Independent podcast. Okay,
right. I've got his card right here.
We ripped off Allison Burns and Lulu Picard's podcast called 10K. That's the numeral 10, the capital letter K, 10K ripoff, in which they imagine what they would do with $10,000 and a vacation.
And we so loved the idea. We wanted to do it ourselves.
Right.
But we broke the rules.
Oh, yes.
We totally broke the rules of 10K, a $10K dollar day vacation.
And Alan talked about his favorite topic again.
I guess I did, didn't I?
I think you did, yes.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
I think I'm through that
did.
period. All right. So this is episode 59 of Bar Pro Radio.
Said to me.
Yeah.
He said to me, Becky, I want you to plan your dream vacation.
Dream vacation.
Right.
Oh my God.
So yeah, let's do the 10K.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, I didn't stick to the rules, but you did, I assume.
You didn't stick to the rules?
No.
Wait, because you didn't spend
well,
10K?
No, I didn't.
You didn't?
No, I didn't spend 10K, not at all.
Oh, well, I didn't either.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Okay, so we didn't stick
I didn't
to the
either.
rules.
No.
So I thought before we actually get to the vacay.
How can you keep it to 10K? If you're going to do a dream vacation,
You might as
how
well
can
go
you
over it.
keep it to 10,000?
Right, and we would love to hear from you out there in Bar Crawl Radio Land about your 10K vacation.
Exactly.
You can email us at barcrawlradio@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you.
And listen to our friends.
And listen to our friends 10K Dollar Days. 10, the number 10 with a K, Dollar Day podcast. And that's
and Dream Away, right?
That's Lulu and Allison. And then Dream Away. So you tell us what is yours. And we're going to talk today about our 10K or more or less dream
Less?
vacation. Yeah, well, it could be less.
What's the point in less?
All right, before we get to our actual vacations.
That we have, that
Right.
you've told me to
went
plan, yes.
and I looked up the most expensive hotel suites in the world.
Oh, yeah. Let me see if they beat the ones I found. Wait
Okay.
a second. Let me get my notes.
There's oh, you looked this too. There's 10 of them I found, and 3 of them are actually in New York City.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
Okay.
there's a 5-bedroom terrace suite, the Mark, in New York, and its daily rate is.
Uh-huh.
What do you guess? Daily rate. Daily rate for the Mark in the 5-bedroom terrace suite.
3,000. It's not that much.
No,
it's more.
So much more.
Wow, how much is it?
Go on.
Okay, 5,000.
Yeah.
10,000. That's our whole vacation. One night. No, come on, tell me.
75,000.
Wait, what is this?
75,000 a night.
What's the amenities?
All right, I
What do
looked
you
at the
get?
amenities. I looked at the amenities. You get like 5 bedrooms.
Do you get a hair blower?
You get to go up on the
Oh,
roof.
5 bedrooms.
There is a fire pit up on the
Oh, so
roof.
you bring a bunch of people. Okay, so we're sharing this.
All right, yeah, 75,000 split. So
Yeah.
I was thinking.
You get to go up on
now-
the roof, and it's 5 people, and how
Right.
many beds?
So it's only $20,000 a person.
Yeah.
Right.
But how many beds?
Well,
Did
I
you
mean,
check
it'd be
that out?
worth it if we invited 500 people and split it between them.
Well, maybe people do. Maybe they have weddings there or
like
something.
sleep in this thing.
Who knows?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
All right, the
$75,000.
most expensive one.
That's not.
That's not the most expensive.
I'm gonna have a heart attack.
The Royal Penthouse Suite in Geneva. It's in the
Geneva.
President Wilson Hotel.
Yeah.
Is $80,000 a night.
What do you get?
All right. I don't know what you get. I 80,000. But what I was
Geneva.
figuring out is that if you break it down,
Yeah.
that's 93 cents a second.
Oh, we can afford that.
All right, 93 cents a second.
Come
All right.
on.
So just think about this podcast and how much it's
80,000,
podcasting.
okay.
80,000.
How much
so,
we're making.
So let's say you sleep for 7 hours in this
Oh no!
in
you
this
wouldn't
Royal
sleep.
Penthouse
If
suite.
you're spending 93 seconds.
All right, but you got to sleep sometime.
93 cents a
That
second.
7
You don't
hours of sleep costs $25,200.
Yeah, no, you don't sleep.
25,000.
What a waste of
okay.
time.
To make a
What a waste of money.
To make a peanut jelly sandwich, peanut butter and jelly sandwich, that's a meager $300. Figure
Oh, that's
5
what they
minutes.
charge.
Right. No. That's how much.
Oh, I see.
It
The
costs
time
you
that-
the time.
Oh, okay,
it
okay.
costs. And a bathroom visit
Oh,
for
please.
you would be 600. For me, would be 1,000.
You really put things in
Oh, I
perspective,
put it
bring
together.
it right down to
Right.
the important things in
Right.
life.
And to me, the Royal Suite, the Plaza. My sweets, it's been fun working with you. Even if no one ever listened to Bar Crawl Radio, just sitting in a bar and having a drink with you and talking about stuff that's interesting and then talking to interesting people.
Talking to interesting people is the best part. Besides talking to you,
Thank you, sweetie.
talking to other interesting people is really fun too. And I love our other nights. Yeah, it's been great.
And if anyone wants to drop in and sees us broadcasting or recording at either Gephard's or
Five Napkin
or any other place on the Upper West Side, please drop in. We'll give you a chance to do a shout out. I'm off to Washington D.C. now to do another Witness Against Torture event. I'll be talking with some of the people there who are really putting themselves on the line for peace activism and to try to get those men who are incarcerated at Guantanamo to give them a trial, at least to give them a trial.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure we're going to squeeze in another other week there, and we'll have to figure out what our topic will be.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Looking back, looking forward.
Looking forward.
We'll see.
I'll come up with something.
I know you will.
Okay, sweetie. Time to have dinner.
Yes. Love you.
Love you.